Okay, hello everyone. Good morning. If you're in Asia or even Hawaii, I guess, good afternoon in the US and good evening in the UK. I guess you can hear me. That's good. So, yeah, just to let you guys know, I'll be doing the live stream is going to be a bit shorter today because, yeah, I need to get up very early tomorrow. So we're going to do it till 9:30 London. So it's going to be about 40 minutes. Yeah, Rudy's not here right now. He's asleep actually in the kitchen. That's where he usually sleeps. He's had an active day. Nice to see all of you here. For those of you who are listening recorded, I usually have a chat with the viewers for about 10 minutes, and then we'll cover the main topics. Today, the title of the live stream is A Week That Changed the Course of Economic History. Yeah, it sounds a little bit hyperbolic, I would say, but I think it's really important. That's why I used that title. We're going to look at all that's happening vis-a-vis the BRICS nations and what could happen to the Western world, and especially the dollar system. And we're also going to look at OPEC Plus. They just announced a pretty big cut in oil production, over 1 million barrels. And we know that the U.S. has sold a lot of its petroleum reserves. It's down to like 40-year lows. And I remember a couple of months ago, beginning of the year, the U.S. administration decided not to load up on more oil, and I think they'll regret it. Not surprising though. So we got Pablo Pina, XRP Daddy is here. Luis Claudio, oh, just time for my coffee, café con leite. That's a latte in Portuguese. Lauren, the Russian market was amazing. Thanks. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. The Russian supermarket. I made a like an impromptu video today, a few hours ago. Someone I met about a month ago in London that lives in Moscow sent me a clip of a supermarket in suburban Moscow, and they had everything. Am I saying the Russian economy is doing great? No, but it's not collapsing, as a lot of people say. Hendo watched my video from yesterday about the currency scoreboard for the first quarter. Yeah, thank you. You enjoyed that. So I've been fairly busy this weekend. Yeah, XRP, it looks like 1.6 million is going to be the total. We've got DJ Jojo. Hi, DJ Jojo. Scoobyism 3 bought a platinum coin, he says, for $1,100. Crypto Santa, I said there was a good morning somewhere around the world. So Crypto Santa from Australia. Barclays on borrowed time like many banks. Well, we're going to talk about the BRICS nations, all the announcements they made this week, which for us that have been following things is not surprising. But I think there's a lot of people in denial yet. They think the dollar will always be king. Yeah, there will always be a dollar, but I think it's different this time. And we're going to look at the OPEC news. I think that's huge. Very big, especially for bond markets, for every markets. Admiral Akbar, hi Admiral Akbar. Papa Dutch from New York. Rainbird says oil Mario. Tommy says good evening, Mario and all. Dylan Roberts, he's been around he's been on the channel for a long time from North Wales. Riyadh Baksh, greetings from Toronto. Hi, Riyadh Baksh. RK markets, a forward-looking dollar could drop 30% in a day and continue to drop Yeah, I'm not sure about. I mean, 30% in a day, the dollar could drop. If gold goes up 30% in a day, that's a 30% drop in the dollar. Um, uh, Anything's possible, but a 2% is a huge move in gold. The powers that be usually don't let gold go up more than 2%. Angel So, can you tell us about how fiat currencies got past the Supreme Court when the Constitution clearly states only gold and silver coinage? I would say crisis, Angel So. It was in 1933, and during the Great Depression, and yeah, there's a bank run, major bank runs in 1933, just like we've recently had. But back then, yeah, like you said, gold was part of the system. And then FDR was inaugurated in March. In those days, the president was inaugurated in March, and he declared a bank holiday, and he did it through executive order. So that's how I guess they got it through the Supreme Court, and no one would dare go against that. And it's been like that ever since. But I agree with you. I'm not a how can I say constitutional or legal expert, but that's what I think. He got away with it by doing it through Executive Order 6102. Richard Martin from Hawaii says aloha. Carlos Garcia from New Jersey. Ian Myers, do you think gold and silver could rally this decade like the 70s? Yeah, I think the dollar has been declining since 1971. And I think we've only got 1% left in the value of the dollar versus gold. So yeah, definitely. And the gold price rallied from $35 to $200 from the early 70s to 1974, end of 74. Then it corrected from 200 to 100, and then it went from 100 to almost 900, which was about 8.5 times. So if we look from 2000, 2001, we went from 250 to 1900 in 2011. And then 1900, we corrected down to 1045. So yes, we could very easily do 8 times that. That would be around $8,000 an ounce. I think it's very possible. But gold wouldn't be going up. It would be the dollar that would be dropping. And yeah, the last 1% can be very painful. And we could really see the end of the dollar, actually, if they lose control of the gold price. And that's why what the BRICS are doing is very important. And yes, the BRICS currencies, I did yesterday the scorecard for fiat currencies. They're just as bad as the Western currencies in terms of their purchasing power and how much they've been inflated. But the point here is not that the BRICS currencies are going to be, this BRIC movement. The point of it is that they're going to give up on the dollar. They're going to not want to. They're going to be dealing in their own currencies. And yes, it might not be perfect, but the point is that there's going to be less demand for dollars, and that's highly inflationary. And the less demand there is for something, the less the value for that thing. Monaco, Euro, Endurorama, if the dollar loses reserve status, how will it affect the derivatives? Well, it will affect them greatly because a lot of the derivatives are mostly priced in dollars. So if you have less demand for dollars, less demand for treasuries, you're going to see interest rates go up. And 2/3, I think, of all the derivatives are interest rate swaps. And it could be a huge problem for derivatives. And I think the other thing that's happening now, and I'm going to start talking about it, is the talk that OPEC now is going to cut oil supply. And I think that's quite significant because, and as you can see here, it looks like the headlines that came out were saying there's over 1 million barrels, but now we know that it's going to be like 1.6 million barrels a day. So we got Saudi Arabia, 500,000 barrels, Russia, which is part of OPEC plus is OPEC plus Russia. So Russia is the plus in that. So you got Iraq cutting oil, U.A.E., Kuwait, Kazakhstan, Algeria, and Oman. So that's a huge cut. And the worrying thing for the U.S. is that the Biden administration sold a lot of strategic reserves in the last year or so, or even more, year and a half, and was very political to bring the price of crude down. But as you can see, we are like at 40-year lows in terms of the strategic reserves, and they can't keep selling this because this is for an emergency. This is not for when the price goes up for political reason. As you can see here, all the sales, it's amazing. And people expected them to replenish it this year. They tried, I think, a couple of months ago, and then they said, oh, we're not going to do it anymore. But I think they've missed their chance. And it's very serious. And what that's going to do, it's not going to create inflation, because inflation is a monetary phenomenon, as I've always said. It's going to raise prices of oil, and oil affects everything. And we know that one of the reasons probably the CPI has come off like from almost 10 to around 6 in the US is because of this year, what they did. And now with oil bouncing back up, it's going to affect the whole world. And central banks might not be able to cut rates or stop even raising rates. Does that mean it's bad for gold? I don't think so, because in the 70s, we had rising interest rates and rising gold prices. And the reason why I see that continuing is because they're never gonna raise rates enough to really quell inflation. And now, coupled with what I was with the title of this live stream, a historic week. And why do I think it's a historic week? Well, because all the preparation we've seen by the Chinese, the Russians, the BRIC countries, and others in the last 6-7 years to kind of develop another monetary or payments and trade system, it's all coming into fruition. There's so many declarations, and last week was huge, and that's why I entitled this live stream as a very important week. And I'll show you here. And I recommend, if any of you are on Twitter, to follow Gold Telegraph on Twitter. So this week we have seen the following. One, Saudi Arabia agreed to join the Shanghai Cooperation Organization as a dialogue partner. That's very important. Iran is part of that. And that means that they feel that the protection that the U.S. used to provide to Saudi Arabia under the petrodollar agreement, defense support, is waning. And it was, I think, in August of 2021 that they also signed an agreement with Russia. So this is significant in terms of the petrodollar. This I made a video about, which was fairly popular. China and Brazil made a deal to ditch the dollar for trade, so they're going to use their own currencies. Yes, they're not perfect currencies at all, but just the fact that they're going to give up, they're not going to have to earn dollars, they're just going to trade with each other, is huge. 3, China and France completed first LNG trade, settled a new one. I saw that one. Some people said that They did it in dollars, but priced it in yuan. I'm not sure, but I think it's significant as well. ASEAN nations consider dropping the US dollar, euro, yen, and British pound from financial transactions. So there you go. That's the Association with Southeast Asian Nations. That's pretty big as well. And I think Singapore must be part of that. And they've been buying quite a lot of gold in 2023. They just bought another 6 tons. They bought 44 tons. I think it was in January. Yeah. So the other thing about being a reserve currency, I think what's going to happen to the dollar, it will still be a reserve currency, but it won't be as major as it's been since the end of World War II, because the British pound, as you can see here, it's still held by like 5% globally by different countries. So it's not the end completely. 5, we learned that the BRICS reserve currency could be potentially backed by gold and other commodities such as rare earth elements. And as he says here, Gold Telegraph, this has all happened within 7 days. So what do I think of this number 5? Well, the thing about gold is that gold is money. It's not consumed. The stock to flow ratio of gold is like 84 years, which means supply and demand of gold doesn't make a difference to the value of gold relative to other goods and services and commodities. But other commodities, they're not really money like gold, and a lot of the commodities, their stock to flow ratio is very low. So I don't think they would make good monetary asset. I think if the BRICS decide to back their currency, if they get a currency, they might just use their own currencies. But let's say they could have an agreement that says that all the countries within the BRICS or BRICS Plus will have to have let's say a 33 or 40% backing of their money supply with gold, something like that. Yeah, so I'm not sure if they want to have something called a BRICS currency. So that's why I think it's really significant. And the thumbnail of this live stream as well, I put while Rome burns, and I think I put this here. Let me see, share it with you guys again. I put this, and so there you go. Trump's diehard supporters, and I'm not like gonna go into the ins and outs of this case, but I just think that America is fixated on things that, yes, are maybe important to a lot of people, but the really important thing, I think, for the long-term future, let's say prosperity and health of the American economy and the American people, has a lot more to do with what's happening with the BRICS countries and the rest of the world trying to turn away from the dollar. I think it's huge. So that's why I think, yeah, you might want to follow this, and you might feel strongly about it. But don't forget, there's other important things going on out there. There's an old saying in sports, a head fake. You know, you look this way, you look one way and go the other, and you trick your opponent. Yeah, that's what I would say. So let's take some of your questions now. I think I've rambled enough. Grandy, gold is not as rare as we've been led to believe. Billions of ounces of placer gold were found in Colorado River. Billions of ounces. Well, you mean placer gold, I think you mean. Well, the official reserves in the world, the official amount of gold that people think there is in the world is about 200,000 tons, metric tons. I don't think that's billions of ounces, but I think gold is very hard to find, and it's getting more and more difficult to find. A lot of the big producing mining companies, their properties are becoming less and less. They're running out. So I'm not too sure about billions of ounces. So we've got a super chat here. Let's have a look. Chris Conman, thank you for your super chat. If interest rates are at 20% and certificate of deposits are yielding 15, how would precious metals be acting? Thanks. Well, the last time that was done was back in early 80s, and metals did top because Paul Volcker, yeah, he had to do something because I think he raised rates like in the late 70, from 77, 79. Then he stopped and gold kept going up. And then he had to raise rates again. And the second time he had to raise it to like 20%. But at the time, I think CPI was 12, 13%. So we have to know where CPI is when your 20% happens. Let's say let's say CPI is at 25% and they raise it to 20. It won't be enough. They'll probably have to raise it to 30%. So that's why it's difficult to say it. So there you go. I hope that helps. Robert Barnacle, what's your thoughts on the change from LIBOR to SOFR? Yeah, I've spoken about this quite a bit, maybe 2-3 years ago. Yeah, and I know Lynette, she covers this quite a bit, and it's supposed to be at the end of June. But the LIBOR has been, yeah, I mean, LIBOR is just like a reference that the bankers use for derivatives, for loans, for mortgages. And it's like changing from inches to from feet and inches, to meters. The thing is, this is just like a proposal from the BIS, which basically is owned by the banks, the BIS. I did a video about that last week. JP Morgan and all the other banks are shareholders really there. So I think, yeah, if there is a problem, they'll just kick the can down the road. But she's right. There's hundreds of trillions of derivatives that have to be switched over from a LIBOR reference to a SOFR reference, and that could trigger loads of trouble. And notwithstanding what rising rates have done already to the whole banking system and the derivatives space, I think the Swiss government had to backstop the UBS takeover Credit Suisse, mainly because, to the tune of $100 billion, mainly because they don't know how much losses would have been, they could trigger still with the derivatives, because a lot of these derivatives are over the counter. They're not in a publicly traded exchange, and it's just a deal amongst bankers and like their clients. So yeah, it could be a problem. Jack B, does Basel III affect gold price, gold trading going forward? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Brian Keene, maybe your little dog will get you put down this time. Your last dog was blind. You gave him to the worms. What are you talking about, Brian Keene? You don't know what happened to my last dog, so he was more than just blind. He couldn't breathe for a whole week. He was dying. I'm sorry. Yeah, you should like not ramble and say things that you don't know about. Okay, Brian Keene. Let's see here. I'm gonna remove you. There you go. Sam Lamcott, shortly ago on Morris Invest here on YouTube, he shares U.S. moving into CBDC tomorrow. Okay, I haven't heard of that. Yeah, gold and silver says 1982 and before pennies are about 3.5 cents. No, yeah, they were made of copper. Yeah, Chris Jones is just an idiot. You're right. I don't like to call a viewer an idiot, but he is. What does he know about what's going on here? Well, I deleted him. I will block him if he comes back. What's the relationship of silver and gold in Exeter's pyramid? Alain Roy asks. Well, John Exeter never really put silver in his pyramid, but I think it's down there with gold. Uh, yeah. Uh, N145YA. Do you think interest rates will increase in the UK and will stay high for the next 5 to 10 years due to growing inflation? Thank you. Well, actually, I don't. I think they will be going up for more than 10 and 5 and 10 years. We've had almost 40 years. Yeah, we had 40 years of easy credit. So now we're going to get 40 years of not so easy credit. And the inflation has been happening really for the last 25 years. It's just that now it's going into consumer prices and people see that as inflation, but they've been tinkering also with the consumer price index for many years, and they're going to continue to do so. So yeah, unfortunately, I think interest rates are due to go back up, bond yields as well, mortgage rates, everything. And I think this announcement by OPEC kind of I'm not saying it's going to trigger it because it was going to happen no matter what, but it's going to accentuate this. What we're going to see now is higher highs and higher lows in interest rates. They're going to keep going up. From 1981 to 2021, it was the other way, lower highs and lower lows. Avoc, what happens when BRICS announce their new currency? Well, that's the thing. I don't know if they're going to have a new currency. They could have an announcement. I think they're already announcing that they're just going to trade amongst themselves in their own currencies. And I think they're going to give themselves time. They need to accumulate more gold, I think, as a block, because anytime a new currency has been announced, it has to be backed by gold. It can't be done any other way. I think Frank Giustra said that in an interview with Daniela Cambone, and I agree with him. So, and I think that's why last year there's so many central banks. They bought the most gold on record. The non-Western central banks. Qualu Charlie says, big hug. Thanks for educating people. You're welcome. You and Durarama, how would you reconcile super and or hyperinflation with precious metals minor valuations? Has there ever been a previous bouts of fiat demise? Yes, there has. I mean, in Germany in 1923, in Central Europe, there was fiat demise in the U.S., the new United States with the Continentals. There was a lot of inflation during the Civil War as well. Miners would do well because gold and silver would be the only money left. And I think Rafi Faber says that the mining companies producing, they would become like the next banks. Mark Bull, thank you for your super chat. It says number one. Thank you. Let's see if we got more questions. Grandy, when the markets discover the true holdings of metals, silver will be 1 to 7 on the gold ratio, but probably 1 to 1. I mean, I would be happy with 15 to 1, to be honest, but 1 to 1, who knows? Anything's possible. Echo, the OPEC cutting oil production, they don't seem too worried about how Biden might feel about that. And that worries me a lot. Well, we'll have to see. And I think this OPEC decision, this shows as well, OPEC plus, because Russia's in there too. It just shows that those countries, Saudi Arabia, Russia, China, of course, is not a member of OPEC, but I think they're okay with it because China has gotten very cheap oil in the last 12 months. And I noticed as well that Petrobras, the Brazilian oil company, they announced a few days ago that they're going to continue focusing on actually increasing their oil reserves and producing oil, which goes against the climate people. And you kind of wonder if they were given a heads up about this. They're not a member of OPEC, though. Sleeping so sound. That's a question. Do you think that the BRICS will use the SDR as the reserve currency? SDR goes totally against, I think, what the BRICS want. The BRICS want a currency that's based on gold, on hard assets. They don't want to be financialized like the petrodollar, the fiat dollar. And the SDR is nothing but, I think it was John Exter said, the dollar became I owe you nothings after August 15th, 1971. And he said that the SDR is even worse. Who owes you nothing, right? So I don't think they would use the SDR. Not at all. And the SDR is linked to the IMF, and I don't think they want to be part of the IMF World Bank clique, because it's controlled by the IMF is controlled by the United States. United States is the only country that has a veto in the IMF. So no, they wouldn't use the SDR. Scott 49140, if we know the FDIC is only 100 billion, do we know how much the FSCS has? Yeah, I think I've looked into that a few years ago. It's probably the same in terms of percentage of deposits. They only have like 4 to 5% assets to cover all the deposits insured. And I think and it's probably the same for the FDIC, 4 to 5%. Or is it? So the 120, yeah, it's just over 5%. So yeah, the FSCS doesn't have enough, they have enough assets to cover a failure of a small bank in the UK, which there are not many of them, but not a systemic crisis. Monaco spouts the same views. The guy is on repeat, just like a scratch record. Monaco is on here to get clicks for revenues. Dates. All right. Well, then how come for the last 6 years, my viewership has been going up and people still want to listen to me? I spout the same views, Anna, because I believe in what I spout. I don't change my views like every second. Or yeah, so there you go. You don't have to be here. You can just go. Belly Dance Raven, nice to see you here. Uh, Thoughts on Vale and PBR, Spiros. Um, yeah, I mean, I have the PBR, which is Petrobras ADR. I think they're going to change. They might lower their dividend, but I still think it's good to have. It's a good oil stock, and I think it's a good exposure to the Brazilian currency, which has been one of the best performing fiat currencies, albeit in the last 2 years, along with the Mexican peso. Vale, yeah, I haven't really done, they're more into the base metals. They could be a good commodity play as well. And this is not financial advice. Jim Millward, thank you. uh, Native American, thank you. Uh, Rev, Mario, Ahmed Dates is to be disregarded. Yeah. Trolls, yeah. She's a troll. Rua, I watch you daily since January 2020, and I'm so grateful for your experience and presentation. So you're welcome. Thank you. Elias 94,800. Do you think it would be smart to just buy the 10 biggest stocks in the SILJ index? Yeah, I mean, I've done that in the past, so you might want to go into the Sprott precious metals fund and look at what they hold. Yeah, that's a good way to do it if you don't want to own the ETF. Ingmar Lindholm, do you think that the BRICS nations going to have a green agenda? Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think, yeah, I think they are into this green agenda, but I think they're going to do a lot more gradually than the West. Am I saying I agree with the green agenda? No, but I think the important thing about the BRICS trying to move away from the dollar is more how it will affect us, not just, well, how it will affect people, not just in the US, but also here in the UK and Western Europe, because we are all like, we're all very dependent on the dollar. And unless we let's say we join the BRICS, like the UK joining the BRICS and starting to trade, instead of paying for things with dollars, we can start using our British pounds to trade with China and other countries. I don't see why not. And that's going to hurt the dollar even more, of course. Ian Myers, are any banks in the UK sending out letters to customers about switching to digital banking? TD Bank in Canada is the first one here. No, I haven't received any letters. I mean, I've been doing online banking for years, and but I sometimes I still go to the local branch, but they have been closing a lot of the branches down, and they try to push people into using online banking. Randomness, good evening. Randomness, Boris Perez, I'm hooked on the dollar. All right. Dilwyn Roberts, do you think gold will be expensive to buy? Mario, when do you think gold will be expensive to buy? I think it already is. I mean, and it's going to get more expensive, unfortunately. It's not getting more expensive. It's just that our currencies are becoming worth less and less. We're buying less and less of everything. So yeah. Yeah, I guess you have to keep track of the value of gold relative to other things, not just the currency. And then let's say if an ounce of gold will buy you like a flat somewhere, then you might think, yeah, gold is overdone now, so we can switch to other assets. But I think yeah, the trick here is to value gold relative to things, not just the currency, because the currency is becoming pretty much devoid of value, I would say. Uh, Thoughts on El Dorado gold mining stock? I don't. I'm sorry, ID Doc. I'm not familiar with that stock. All right. James Hafford, I just read that there will be significant reductions in oil production from some of the larger. Oh yeah, the OPEC plus. Yeah, I mean, I've been talking about being in hard assets actually since around 2019. And I do have some, I have PBR, which is Petrobras ADR as a stock. So is it too late to get in tomorrow? Probably not. So, and I think, yeah, I think it's a good idea. Married Marie Doremus, gold and silver are money, honest money. That's right. Ian Myers, 9:30. Yeah, I did say I was going to do till 9:30, but I'll keep going. It doesn't matter. Um, Free Speech Matter says smash the like button. Mateos Augustus, Matthias Augusto, don't you worry about petrol. Yeah, a petrol price will probably go up. That's why, yeah, it's going to affect everything. I'll do probably another 15 minutes. The drawback, do you think as we move into CBDCs in the coming years, they will become a bigger part of what you discuss in the channel? Well, I have been discussing it a bit since November. I got quite a lot of views from my interview with Clive Thompson, my first interview in November. Yeah, I suppose so, but I don't agree with what you say there. As we move into CBDCs, I'm not going to move into CBDCs. And my hope is that people don't move into CBDCs, because if there's no adoption, they won't be able to put it through. So, but we need to, I've noticed a lot of people, uh, respected analysts, and like they're all concerned about it. I think I saw Frank Juster said that it's the end of freedom. I even saw Charles Nenner, who usually doesn't touch upon these things. He just looks at cycles. He said it's a bad thing. I mean, it's serious, and we have to keep exposing it. Hello from Greece, Hellas. Good afternoon, UK. Uh, and H says gold investments have been very busy, according to Oliver. I think so. I mean, especially with the banking situation in the last month, I think bullion dealers have gotten quite busy. Riyad's back. Did you hear Agustin Cartons of the BIS decentralized mention a decentralized ledger of CBDCs? Well, I would say that is a oxymoron, to have a decentralized central bank digital currency. He's full of it. I think Mr. Carstens. Norbert, CBDCs are coming because people are stupid. A dude at my work got a chip implanted in order to pay for stuff. Are you in Sweden, Norbert? Because I heard about someone in Sweden doing that. Hello, Mario and Rudy from Vegas. Stephen Newsom, do you know the limit on gold cross borders and tax implications? Keep up the good work. Well, here in the UK, I don't think there are any limits how much gold you can bring in. I think in Switzerland there's some limits how much gold you can take in. It's not, you know, I guess in the US there's a $10,000 limit. I'm not sure, but I guess if you take not pre 34 or 33 gold coins, you could say that, you have just like a $20 gold piece. You could say that that's $20, not like almost $2,000. So you could use that, I think. Cal Calais, my love, Mario, last video on the Russian grocery store was superb. Propaganda being shoved down our throats. Yeah, I did a video earlier today. Someone that I met about a month ago that lives in Moscow. He sent me a video of a supermarket in Moscow, and it looks pretty nice to me. They don't seem to have any shortages. Belly dance Arabia. Rudy is he's gone to bed already, so he's not here in the study. Sorry. He'll be back though. Scott 49 was interesting seeing how 89 rubles was equivalent to £1, which is the stronger currency. Well, just because a currency is like 89 and the other one is 1 doesn't mean that the pound is stronger. It's all relative. It's like the yen. It's at 130. $1 is 130 yen. But if you go back to the 70s, the yen was like almost 300. $1 was 300 yen. But the point is that 89 rubles for 10 eggs is about £1. Yeah. And here in the UK, I think we're paying more than £3 for 10 eggs. The man from Hella says, you said 3-4 years ago that we can see gold to 3,000, and this is a fair price. Is that yeah, I think we could easily go to 3,000, or the dollar could drop to 3,000. It's always gold seems to go in spurts. It goes, doesn't do much for a few years, and then all of a sudden it just moves up. So a 20% move higher in gold right now would be about almost $2,500. So it's not out of the question. LG, will Glint and other similar services be shut down by central banks when they issue CBDCs? I don't see why they would, because instead of having, because the Glint app has gold, you can have British pounds, US dollars, and euros, I think. So instead of having British pounds, it will be the digital pounds. So I don't think, why would they, shut down Glint? It's a private company, but anything's possible. Eugene says higher gold is bad for living, stack to prepare, not wish for. I look at it the other way. Higher gold is just a reflection of too many pieces of paper or digital entries, fiat currency inflation. Yes, it means that because most people don't get it, because like Lenin said, the way to really destroy the bourgeoisie or the middle class is through inflation, because very few people understand it. Silver Task, nice to see you here, one of the moderators. Marek Kalenda says Trump to get arrested on Tuesday. Yeah, I've spoken about that. That's part of the distraction. I'm not saying it's not important, but I think longer term there's a lot of other important things happening too. I haven't heard about that, James Hafford, about Mexico blocking silver exports. That would be quite significant, though. Yeah, that would be very bullish for silver, because silver, Mexico is one of the biggest silver producers, I guess. Do you think a higher oil price will hurt the miners? I guess it depends. If gold goes up faster than oil, probably not. But I think a lot of the miners are already, they're quite lean. But I guess if you're concerned, you can always look into the royalty gold companies that they just get they're that they're immune to rising costs of producing or exploration. Lily Robin, don't marry many don't understand inflation because MSM calls higher prices. That's right. Yeah, that's what I've been trying to tell people for the last 6, 7 years. And we fall for it because they use the term so much. It's like calling, it's like calling, let's say it rains and the pavement or the sidewalk gets wet, and you say, well, that, it's it's rain. The pavement caused rain. No, it's wet because of the rain. It's just I think that's how they get away with it. And yeah, the other thing people use is things like food inflation, which is really annoys me, because there is no such thing as food inflation. If anything, there's food deflation, which is shrinkflation, right? You buy a bar of chocolate, which of course isn't that healthy, but it's getting smaller and smaller. All the packaging is getting smaller and smaller. So if anything, we have food deflation. What's happening is that food prices are rising because the currency is losing value. Ezekiel 7:19 is talking about the last day. Gold cannot buy salvation from God's wrath. Well, of course not. I think what it means there is that, yes, it's good to be financially secure, but it's not everything. So, but I think it will go a long way in helping you if you're not spiritually healthy up there, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, no amount of gold will make you happy. I think that's what it means. Lily Robbins says there's no 90% silver to buy anywhere. Yeah, sometimes I get some from Peter Morris in Bromley here in the UK. I have quite a bit of 90% silver, but interesting that you can't get it. right now. I think it means people don't want to get rid of it. That's all, and maybe the price is too low. Silver Task says, uh, lamb's liver in Marks and Spencer, very nutritious and cheap. Yeah, the Great Closet. I think silver. Last week I had a level around 20, just above 24. So actually, I think silver could run this week because the trend line has come down a little bit. But yeah, 24.50 would really get it going. Rich Mountains, when someone buys a short-term treasury from their broker at their bank, does the bank own that, or is the treasury held in the name of at the no, I mean, when you buy something for your account, uh it's held in your name. It's yours. Unless I think the only way it's not is if you buy a money market fund. You own the money market fund, and and then they own the treasury. Yeah, LG, yeah, I've seen that as well about not being able to buy anything without the mark of the beast. Well, maybe that's for those who are not aware of it. Maybe, it doesn't it doesn't mean everyone, I would say. Okay, I'll take a couple of more questions and we'll call it a day. I've done it a little longer than I was going to do. Bo Pony on Greg Hunter last night said gold is going to skyrocket. um, well, yeah, well, we'll see. Yes, I don't like to make. I mean, the other day I looked at the technicals and I thought, yeah, we could go higher, but it's difficult to predict these things. But we'll see. Just one more question here. Have you seen Ron's Basement on YouTube discussing states putting in legislation for precious metals? I don't know if I've watched Ron's Basement, but I've seen that states like Wyoming and others are trying to have gold become a reserve asset for those states. And I think that's a good thing. So with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good rest of of this Sunday. And thank you for being on the live stream, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.